How do the Democrats act as an opposition party, Tavis? Is it all, I mean, the energy is not in Washington.
Sure.
The energy is not with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. That's not personal to them, but, you know, they've been around a while.
You asked Leader Pelosi a powerful question, a great conversation, by the way, when you asked her whether or not the Democratic strategy ought to be obstructionism. What I was thinking was that there's a distinct difference between obstructionism and living and governing by a set of immutable principles. So I don't see the Democratic strategy being one merely of obstructionism. That's what we got from the Republicans on the Supreme Court nomination of Merrick Garland, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there ought to be some principles on which you stand. Those principles, I think, are being played out in the streets by these Saturday protesters that you referenced earlier.
The problem that they have is that they cannot defeat. They don't have the numbers to defeat all of these nominees. So they are trying to pick and choose those where they can pick up some support among Republicans. And they have to face the problem about the Supreme Court nomination. If they go and filibuster, there is no question in my mind that Mitch McConnell is going to go nuclear. They have to figure this out. But the passion over Merrick Garland and the way he was treated, the humiliation of never even giving him a meeting, no less a hearing, among these Republicans, is not to be underestimated.
But let's remember where all this...
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
Look, first of all, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's number one. But it goes on both sides. And by the way, you think they're picking their battles? The Democratic leader in the Senate voted against the wife of the Republican leader, okay? Elaine Chao. What was that? Was that picking and choosing your battles?
That's the first time, by the way, you bring this up, it was the first time in the history of this country that a transportation secretary got opposition votes. I mean, this shows you where we are a little bit.
And that's the problem,
well, I'm saying that there is enormous pressure. I'm not going to underplay this. There were thousands of people outside Chuck Schumer's house in Brooklyn the other night.
And
they are facing, we are in a very dangerous place as a country when they can't pick and choose.
Is it dangerous? The Tea Party, you could argue that President Trump, Tea Party, straight line, right, Alex?
Dangerous. I was there for a lot of
You call
years.
it dangerous?
Very dangerous. On this, I agree with Tavis that you need to be for something. There's a new party of no in town, and it's the Democratic Party. I've been there, and I've seen where that leads. It shrinks you. It reduces your support. You lose the ability to inspire unless, and what is the problem? There's an old generation of Democratic leadership in this country that is hanging on by its fingernails, and if they cede the way, what comes next is a very left-leaning Democratic Party of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders that will get even smaller.
I find, Andrew, to your point,
a lot of people thought Tea Partiers would never win.
I find myself quoting my grandfather all the time. There's some fights that ain't worth fighting, even if you win. But there are other fights you have to fight, even if you lose. And they have to fight these fights.
And lose.
There's the last words of sword. There it is. Okay, that's all for the Super Bowl Sunday. If I don't end the show, they'll never stop talking, right?